Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, wherever you find yourself today. We're so glad that you're here. Um, I love that you're taking the time out of your day to join us for Cultivating Calm. My name is Carrie Ann Gwynn. I am the Verizon Skill Forward Project Coordinator for Alliance for Hope International. And I am joined behind the scenes by Ashley Rumschlag, who's our National Director of domesticshelters.org, as well as Hannah Craig, our Senior Digital Services Specialist. Did I get that? I feel like I maybe said the wrong one. But
You're
Hannah's
right.
behind the scenes.
Director of content.
Oh shoot. Shoot. I was like, that's not the right one. Anywho, we are so glad that you're here. Last week we talked about the stress response, sympathetic activation. And in case you are new to cultivating calm, we are going to give you a brief overview of kind of what this is and why we're doing this. So we're doing this as a part of our Verizon Skill Forward program. Verizon Skill Forward is an upskilling initiative that is all about helping give people the job training skills to stay relevant in this crazy job market with technology changes and all of that. So there are over 400 courses and 100 professional certificate programs from things like AI to coding to communication, leadership, social work. You could learn about how to ferment food from Harvard. There's all kinds of stuff. We would love for you to join us in our Verizon Skill Forward program. It will be going through the end of 2026, and the sign up link is in the chat. And then you might be thinking, well, what the heck does cultivating calm have to do with upskilling or with job training? So, when we look at our nervous systems, our brains, our bodies, if we are in a place of threat constantly and feeling that fight or flight mode or freeze or fawn, we're not able to forward think because those are survival states. And in a survival state, it really doesn't matter if you set goals. It really doesn't matter if you go complete a course online. It doesn't matter if you train for the future, because to the survival brain, there is no future to think of. There is only the present moment. There is only running, fighting, fleeing, whatever the response happens to be. If that makes sense to you, if you've resonated with that before, can you give me a I'm with you in the chat? I would love to know if you've had this experience too of like, gosh, when I'm stressed, I do not care. Renee's with me, Kelly's with me. I love it. Thanks, Jamie. Awesome. Yes, this is the human experience. And in these states, they're protective. So they're not bad. It's not bad to be in a sympathetic activation state. It's not bad to be in dorsal vagal shutdown, but those are not places that we want to stay. And in order to explain this a little bit, I know we've talked about it before, but just in case we've got some new folks, I am going to show you the polyvagal ladder here, and we'll just talk through this real briefly, and then we're going to get into our practice. So we have these three primary states of the nervous system. At the top of the ladder is ventral vagal presence. This is the place where we feel connected to other people. The message of the nervous system is, I have what it takes. I got this. No matter what comes my way, I can handle it. And in this state, rest and digest mode is more activated. Our immune system is able to fight off viruses and do all the things that it needs to do, and we feel connected to other people. We're not flying solo always. We're connected to a community that supports us. In sympathetic activation, which we really talked about a lot last week, there is this feeling of being under threat or feeling unsafe. And the message of the nervous system in this state is, I have to do something now or else. And it is this feeling that you want to scream, you want to fight, you want to run, I have to get out of here. Or it could even be triggered by like, I'm surrounded by chaos and I have to clean my house right now or else. All of those things trigger sympathetic activation, and the survival brain interprets it as I'm running from a saber-toothed tiger. Okay, even though we know laundry piles everywhere are not a saber-toothed tiger, they feel like it to the brain and they feel like it to the body. At the bottom of the ladder, we have dorsal vagal shutdown. This is a state of overwhelm. It's a state of paralysis. And the story that feels true here is I cannot handle this. I do not have what it takes. I have felt this on many occasions, and this is such a common experience also for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault because we are animals at our core, and animals will play dead because the brain and the nervous system says, well, maybe if I play dead, this predator won't come for me and I'll be safe. And we see that with a lot of people who've experienced trauma that they're like, why didn't I do anything? I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything because the nervous system and brain was going into this survival space. And last week we talked about different experiences in our lives kind of being like the rings on an Apple Watch or your health app on your phone, where it wants you to close that loop to do a certain amount of exercise or a certain amount of sleep. And our emotions are this way as well. If we do not allow ourselves to completely feel what is being felt and to work the emotion all the way through to the end, it ends up getting stored as survival energy in the body, which is causing things like inflammation and immune dysfunction, hormone dysfunction. There's such a long list of things that will go on in this space. But physiologically, what does it feel like? Physiologically, it feels like shoulders are slumped. Oh, it's hard to keep myself upright. The heart rate may slow down significantly. There may be overwhelming feelings of exhaustion, regardless of how much rest you get. This is the state that depression lives in, that feeling of just like, I can't do anything. I can't get up off this couch. I can't stop scrolling. I can't go out and take a walk. Things like unloading the dishwasher feel monumental. If you can't tell, that's a personal example. This state is also protective. And part of our work in cultivating calm is to recognize where we are on the ladder. So if you were to pause, actually, before I go on, I can't believe I forgot to say this. Before I go on, we're here to be present with the capital S self, right? Be present with you, be present with whatever is going on. I know how easy it is to have notifications going on in the background. Oh, I'll just check this email real quick. Oh, that text came in. I am going to challenge you to shut it all down right now. Okay, this is only a 30-minute call. If anybody needs you desperately, they'll come into your office. But please silence your cell phone. I want to encourage you to shut down your email so you don't have any notifications coming through. Minimize your browser so you don't have tabs galore, and do your best to just be present with us in this moment. I know that it is really hard and it is really uncomfortable, but that's part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase awareness. And if we're continuing to distract ourselves, we will not be able to increase awareness. Okay. So today we're talking through the polyvagal ladder and specifically dorsal vagal shutdown. I was in a yoga class once during a very challenging season of my life, and it was a restorative class, so it was supposed to be so zen. And they're setting us up for this chest opening pose, a heart opener. And everything in me, because I've honed in on this skill of checking in with my body and knowing what I need, everything in me was like, I do not want to do a heart opener right now. My body was like, don't do it. I needed the fetal position because I was in dorsal vagal shutdown. That's where I was. Yes, I was at a yoga class, but only because I had like gotten a certain amount of time membership and I just knew like if I don't use it, I'm wasting it, right? But I knew that I needed to just be in the fetal position. And so when everybody else was set up in a heart opener, I actually went into the fetal position and I put a blanket over myself and I stayed there as long as I needed to because I needed to close that loop. So I want you to think about where you are today. Where are you on that ladder? Are you feeling connected? Are you feeling like I got what it takes. I can handle anything? Are you feeling like it's hard for you to even be still on this call because you just want to be running around doing all the things? Or are you feeling like I wish I was laying down. I wish I was in my bed. I wish I was anywhere but here. It's hard to keep myself upright. If you take a pause and maybe place a hand on your chest if that feels supportive, that's always my go-to, but it doesn't have to be yours. You are going to have your own thing that feels supportive to you. But if you give yourself a moment and take a breath and just ask yourself, where am I on this ladder? How am I doing? How am I showing up today? What is present for me in this moment? And you don't need to share it with anyone else, but the goal is that you become an expert at mapping your own nervous system and recognizing where you are. And then you can give yourself what you need. Okay. So in dorsal vagal shutdown, people are often like, I don't even know what to do when I'm in the shutdown mode. And I completely understand because the survival state of it, you don't want to do anything. So, this is my recommendation to you because we cannot stay in this state, right? We just can't. And I know that there may be some of you on this call right now that you are pushing through the dorsal vagal shutdown because you're showing up for other people, because there's a job that needs to be done. There are people who need to be served. And yet inside you feel like you're dragging a 1,000-pound weight behind you. That's often what that shutdown feeling feels like. And for the next 20 minutes, what would it look like to actually tend to that part of you? I was in a practice session in my somatic training and I was the client, which honestly is harder for me to just be seen in that way. And the practice practitioner was asking me how I was doing, and I said, I'm exhausted. I just want to curl up in a ball. And she just very matter of factly said, what's keeping you from doing that? And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great point. Here I am in this practice session. I may as well just go for it. And so I laid down I actually curled up in a chair with a soft blanket, and I just laid there. And I wonder what that might look like for you right now. I'm gonna guide you into a little bit of it is a little bit of a shutdown exercise, and you might not be in that state today, and that's okay if you're not. I want you to just be getting tools for your toolkit. That is what we're trying to do here. So, when it comes to shutdown, because we can't stay in this place, but we are gaining awareness of it, what we can do is we can say, okay, for the next 2 minutes, you could do 10, but for the sake of our time, we're going to do 2 minutes. For the next 2 minutes, I'm going to just give in to whatever that physical impulse is. And for those who do want to be involved in the chat, I would love to hear from you when you are in that shutdown place. Is there a physical posture that you feel pulled into that feels like, oh, I could just lay down, I could just curl in a ball, I could just let my head hang, whatever it is. And as you think through that and possibly share it in the chat, this is not so that we get pulled out of the moment. This is because we're learning from each other. There may be some of us on this call who have a really high level of body awareness and recognizing what our needs are, but there may be some who are still at the beginning of that journey. And when we share these types of things, like, oh gosh, all I want to do is wear a soft sweater, all I want to do, whatever, it gives other people ideas and plants little seeds. So if you want to share that in the chat, you can. If you want to ignore the chat, you can do that too. It is totally up to you. I want to get into my bed and touch my really soft blankets and curl up and close my eyes. Yeah. I get my neck feeling stiff and then I have to roll my neck around. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Comfortable clothes only. I feel you on that. And I think that's it actually is a really beautiful thing because the body communicates to the brain way more than the brain communicates to the body. So things like wearing soft clothes, the fetal position, all of that, it does create safety because we give the body neutral or positive sensations to tell the brain and nervous system, hey, we're okay. Yeah, I want to be really warm. I love that. I want a redo button for this day. Yeah, you get to have that right here. So for the next couple minutes, depending on where you are, I'm sitting on the floor, so I am able to bring my knees into my chest, put my arms around the front of my knees, and just drop my head. This is kind of a sitting version of the fetal position. I also want to acknowledge that depending on the type of body that you're living in right now and the size of body you're living in, not every single posture is going to be accessible to you. And that is totally okay. I have been there as well. So find a way in this moment that you can lean into that impulse of shutdown for you, whatever that looks like. If that's a head down, I'm going to set a timer and we're just going to allow ourselves to be in this posture for 2 minutes. And if it changes during the 2 minutes, if you're like, oh, now I really want to like give myself a hug, lean into it. This is your space to do this. All right. So we'll go for 2 minutes. And by doing this, we're allowing our bodies and our nervous systems to close that loop. And instead of viewing your nervous system state and your body as something to be fixed, I wonder if you can view it like a young child that just needs to be cared for and honor where you are today. And as you're here, you might notice some things shifting in your body. You might notice little releases like ears popping or the desire to yawn or sigh. These are all little ways that our bodies offload that survival energy and start to shift into that ventral vagal presence. And I share this as I'm having this experience that my body just naturally kind of started rocking back and forth. You might notice these impulses in your own body of like, oh, that feels really supportive to me, whether it's rocking or you might notice that you want to rub your arms or roll your neck out. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's all about listening and tuning into your body and what your body needs. And then when you're ready, I encourage you to just slowly come out of this pose. If you've been hunched over with your head hanging down, instead of just popping up into an upright position, I want you to almost pretend like you're rolling your spine up just as slow as you possibly can. And as you bring yourself back to upright, if there's any movements that you want to bring in, I loved the idea of the neck roll. Now my brain is like stuck on how lovely that is. If there's a neck roll, if there's shoulder rolls, just allow yourself to lean into whatever those body impulses are. And when we are in the place of dorsal vagal shutdown and we have awareness of it within ourselves, powering through is not the way to go. We listen to our bodies and even ask yourself, body, what do you need right now? And your body is really wise and she's just been silenced a lot. And so this is a practice of getting back in touch with how do I allow my body to have a voice. But when we're in dorsal vagal shutdown, we don't just say, okay, I'm just going to stand up straight and I'm going to shake it off. And no, we're gentle, we're slow. Even things like hand washing. You could actually do it with soap, but for the purposes of this, we're going to refer to this as hand washing. We're kind of pretending that we are washing the hands. And so you can touch your hands and just see what you notice. Like I'm noticing my palms are a little bit more moist and warm, and my fingertips are quite cold. In between my fingers feels a little sticky, not in like a jam way, but just I'm noticing a little bit of friction there. And we're trying to just really gently bring the nervous system and the vagus nerve back online. So, by moving our hands slowly, we can do a lot of things with just this. We can notice what it feels like on the hands. We can feel different temperatures. We can use different amounts of pressure to see what do I like? Do I like the squeeze? Do I need something more gentle like this? There's so many nerve endings in the wrists and in the forearms that sometimes it's nice to just kind of bring a little movement down here and even start to bring your eyesight, the sense of vision into your practice by, I'm noticing the way the light from the window is hitting my hand and it's illuminating wrinkles and creases and a freckle. And just allow yourself to be completely present as though you're just discovering your hands for the first time. You're like, whoa, these belong to me. And allow yourself to enter into just observation and maybe even a little bit of wonder. We talked last week about how the vagus nerve is this nerve that runs from the brain stem down into the torso and innervates all of these systems in the body. One of my favorite ways to give my vagus nerve a little bit of love, attention, and bring it back online is by getting my hands moving a little more quickly. So if you can start creating a little bit of heat here and just noticing what you hear. You may even choose to close your eyes to really tune into the sound. Maybe you move your hands from side to side. As silly as this seems or as it might look, when we're doing this, we're actually engaging in bilateral stimulation. So we're bringing sound to one side, it's crossing the midline and bringing sound to the other side, and we're creating heat. When you start to feel your hands getting warm, and that's going to be a different time for everybody. Okay, I'm going to go really quick because my hands were really cold. I'm trying to build a lot of heat here. I'm going to bring them to my face. And notice the difference between the temperature of your hands and the temperature of your cheeks. Maybe you choose to use different bits of pressure. Maybe it's really light at first. Maybe you use a little more pressure. And then if your hands start getting cold again, you can come back to rubbing them together and bringing heat to one side. Another way to do this that I really love at night is by using a candle. And I'll use a candle and just kind of bring my hand over it so that my hand gets warm. And then I have this beautiful visual of the flame and then touching my neck or touching my face or my chest. And the vagus nerve, right, is coming from the brainstem. So when we give a little bit of attention to this area, we're helping to stimulate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is helping to bring the parasympathetic back online. That means the part of our nervous system that is relaxed and resting and digesting. And so I have my peace fingers on either side of my ear, and I'm just kind of tractioning the skin down. I'm not moving my fingers, but I'm just gently pulling the skin down. And as you do this, Notice just any shifts that happen in your body. If you feel gurgles in your tummy, if all of a sudden you want to burp, if your ears are popping, a big sigh like that one. And then in the same way that we've pulled and tractioned the skin down, we can do the same, moving the skin in an upward direction around the ear. And you can do this on both sides at once if you want to. I was just turning so that you could see one side, but you can do this on both sides. So you can kind of push the skin up. And this is all just giving the vagus nerve a little bit of love and attention. I feel like I'm trying to give myself a facelift as I do this. I don't need that. Neither do you. We're all beautiful. And as you're here, just observe what you feel and notice in your body and even in your mind. I know for me, I'm having a settling of thoughts were swirling and now they're kind of coming floating down a little bit and my the kind of attention and vision in my mind when all of that quietness comes it comes like right almost just outside the tip of my nose where it's this feeling of okay, I am present in only this moment. This is the only one we've got. And then you might choose to do a little tapping around your jaw, around the back of your neck. And as we do this, again, you're always invited to just notice what's going on in your body. Is your breath changing? Are you sitting up a little straighter? Do you feel tired? My body is like, can you stop tapping and just give me a gentle hand? And so I'm listening to that. And you might have different impulses in your own body. As we have a few minutes left, I would love to hear from you in the chat. What did you notice during this time? When we can recognize, oh, I noticed this happened in my body. It's our way of integrating the practice into our lived experience, right? Like we had this experience, but it doesn't need to stay isolated as only something that we do during cultivating calm. These are practices that you can do anytime. Tension left your abdomen. Yes, I love that. So, tension actually left my abdomen too. I feel weight on my forearms and lower back. Hmm. Releasing my clenched jaw. Yeah, sometimes we don't even realize how clenched it is. Shoulders released, tension I didn't even know I had. A draining feeling in my ears. I felt my breath fuller, got a feeling of full then empty, yawning. Yeah, remembering that you need to connect with your body more often. It's amazing. We're living in these absolutely just phenomenal vessels, and yet we forget about them. Dawn, I see you. You're wildly uncomfortable with these practices, but trying to participate. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for naming that. I am confident that you are not alone in that. And as we talked about last week, this is a practice. It's not a destination, it's not a checklist item. It is something that we are growing in together. And I am so glad that you are choosing to prioritize yourself and show up in this space because you're gaining tools that you can use anytime that are completely free to you. You don't have to go to some fancy place to be able to stimulate your vagus nerve or breathe. It's so good. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for your shares in the chat. I really appreciate your participation. And I love that you're not feeling as tired as before. So, so good. May you be blessed as you do the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye.